Hey all, hello guys, welcome to the live session. I hope I'm audible. Good to see you, all of you, after a while. We haven't done live sessions in some time. Um, Basically, we thought, it's a bit too much pressure and too much stress in that initial few months to, have it. And it's more of a time you guys would want to figure out things yourself. But now onwards, we will have once in a while live sessions, provided only if you have significant or important questions to ask. All right, so we'll get started. Couple of seconds. I think I've seen the questions. Let me. We're gonna go in a very structured manner. Okay, and ideally in the first 30 minutes itself, 20 minutes itself, we should cover most important things. After that, I will take questions. Those who are interested in knowing those questions can stay, but otherwise please feel free to drop off and carry on and go back to your studies or whatever it is. Another thing is that see, this will be a session primarily for those who are writing the NEET PG this year. Some fourth year, final year students, it might be interesting to see how it plays out, but to be honest, that's not the aim of the session. Now, audio I can okay, let me see. I'll speak up. Yeah. Okay. So first question, a lot of you have asked about the video teacher specific questions, which is basically in PSM, in OBG, in ortho, can we change some classes? Well, I think a number of classes will be changed, but I clearly definitely want to tell you, please do not wait for those. Okay, because no one is gonna ask you how many videos you watched, how many classes you attended when you go for the real exam, right? Now for Marrow, our principle is a continuous evolution. So in fact, our internal code name is Kaizen, which is continued learning. So we keep changing the videos, and we'll have pretty interesting teachers coming in, but it might be a bit late for you guys when it goes to publishing. Okay, so I request your you need to work with us, because you can actually go back and watch those videos, but I am really concerned that now waiting for that might be a bit too risky. Okay, but I assure you, most of the videos will be, which are low rated, will be replaced. But if you are studying OBG, please go ahead and study. I'll tell you one thing, OBG videos had the biggest yield in the last NEET PG. So almost all the questions were covered in the last OBG video, and no other specialities matched it. So there are many things which come into picture, right? I mean, obviously the way the teacher teaches, the depth of the subject, the conceptual explanation, but one of the most important criteria is that how many questions do you get finally, right? So in that case, I would say nothing to worry about in OBG. Ortho can be better, I understand, but these are irrelevant at this point. At this point for you guys, at this point, you have what, less than 6 months for the exam. It's irrelevant. Volume is still the issue. Now, my second point. My second point would be this is going to be our structure today. Um, so let me just write it down so that we go very clearly. First is, let's do a preparation check. Okay, we'll do a prep check. Many of you guys have been studying for months, so what is going on? Okay, then let us revisit the fundamentals of preparation. Okay, now we'll revisit the fundamentals, on which let us look at the timetable once again. Let's look at the timetable once again. Let's look at about the revision plans. Okay, C would be the notes, D would be the preparation sources, which I have discussed in previous thing, in which you have primary add-on, practice and test. Okay, so we'll check out the preparation sources once more, and we'll discuss some general items. Okay, we'll go in this order. In this, I would like to talk about writing exams. I would like to talk about negativity or escaping that process. Okay, now let's go in this order, right? So now, how do you guys feel? How are you? I mean, how did you do? Like you had like few months to. Some people might have started now. What is the status of your preparation? What is the status? Are you guys good or like we are good? I mean, how is it? I mean, can you comment? Happy with the progress so far? It's you know, happy with the progress. You have prepared well. You have done a good job. You have followed your timetable. Is that the scenario, or you are totally screwed up, or you are like in between? I want to understand. Okay, Gokhila started the first revision. Preetham is scared. Medicine video is too long. Forget video, na to we'll do. I mean, video. Yeah, I will come to that point. I know your pain point. I'm not ignoring it. Let me come back. Bad, average, not happy, not at all, forgetting everything, not at all happy, not at all satisfied, lagging 1 month, slow, scared, satisfactory, screwed, bad, not very poor, happy, inadequate, in between, screwed up. So generally like what I was in this stage. Okay, now good enough. Thank you, guys. This is the thing, right? So basically, except for the rank, those guys who get something within a rank 100, everyone at this point is basically semi screwed up. Trust me on that, right? So this is a period of intense confusion. Like you had this dreamy plan, you had this beautiful picture of really sitting and studying for 8 months, 10 months. Some of you haven't started, some of you just kept studying only anesthesia or only radiology. The timetable has not been followed. So generally, I can totally relate. Um, it's not a good scenario now. Now, I'm not, saying that it's a good scene to be in. So, but the problem is that that's what would happen right now for most of you. Now, there are really smart students who would have really kept their timetable and keep things going, right? Congrats to you. You guys did a really good job. For the rest of you guys, when you do the preparation check right now, if your scenario is very confused, not able to follow your timetable, not looking like you are reaching the revision, it is okay. Okay, provided you have a solid plan for the next 5 months. What we have 5.5 months, right? Provided you are ready to put your best out there, otherwise it might become very tough. Okay. Now the good news is that whatever you studied over the last few months, the value of that is not equivalent to the value of the next few months. So the month November value is at least 3 to 4 times of the value of a month April. All right. The nearer the exam, your ability to retain content is much higher. Your seriousness goes much higher. So the good news. So what is the volume thing? It's better now. So the good news is that you can recover from what you started. Okay. Now next one, so the prep check, I understand this is a scenario. I'm not surprised. This is what usually happens. So let us revisit the fundamentals, right? Now I assume all of you have timetable. If you don't have, please go and make one. Just go and look at our previous live sessions where I clearly mentioned how to prepare a timetable. And one disclaimer, none of this is my idea. This is basically a collection of guidelines which we collected from our previous top rankers. Okay. Now these previous top rankers did many things. So this is the biggest question in your mind, right? What is the ideal method? So the answer is that there is no ideal method. If there was one single best methodology for approach NEET PG, then everybody would be following it. Then there is no differentiation, right? Then people would find some other method and find it better, and this is a continuous cycle. So for the first thing you need to understand here is that there is no one single answer to any of this, right? So nobody knows which are the best books, which is the best teacher, which is the best MCQ. No one knows, not does I know, like your teachers know. So there is no one single answer for any of this. Okay. Now, but at the same time, there are around a number of items which if you look at how your seniors did, there are a number of items which I have listed here. They did it without fail. So this is like a it's a, you can't bail on these things, right? These are non-bailable things you actually have to do. Now, it's most like you building a house and you have to have certain fundamental anchoring. Without that, you are not gonna do it properly, right? So these are the basic fundamental anchoring which I'm gonna tell you. First is the timetable. I hope everyone has a timetable. Now at this point, now your timetable should be sort of messed up. Now what you can do is two things. One is you stop right away and make a clear timetable. Now so let's say you have spent 10 days studying medicine previously. Remove medicine from your timetable. You wanted to study radiology, but you couldn't study radiology. Then maybe have half day or 1 day for radiology. Now one thing you can do, if you are really unhappy with your timetable so far and looking at your timetable makes you look sad, start fresh. Okay. If your timetable is bad and if that's the scenario, start fresh. Now if your timetable is repairable, repair it. But so far you have to make sure you have a sort of a semi-clean slate to go on. Now if you haven't been looking at your timetable every day, that is a big mistake. One single indicator is that you have to go and look at your timetable every day. Your day should start with a timetable. Timetable is what defines your structure, right? It defines your flow. That's the most fundamental base you start working with. That's a framework. Now, why is it so? Why is the timetable so important, and why is it not too late to actually have that? Now you say, let's say you get 150 to 190 days. You can use it, split your days and go strategically, because the biggest mistake, one of the biggest mistake now you can actually do, disproportionately spending time and just going with the flow. Now when you count and understand there are only 150 days for the exam, that brings you a constraint that says, hey, that's all. I mean, it's a win-win, right? I mean, it's not about, you're not talking about 300 days. There are people, there are hundreds and thousands of students who manage to get a really good rank just within 150 days. Okay, so that is done. People have proven it all over again. You don't need more time. People have proven it many times. So that means you can actually do it. So what is a variable here? What is a variable here is the time which you have, which is divided into 150 days. So it all boils down about what you actually do in 150 days. Now, in 150 days, you can do many things, but it all matters when you do it very structurally. So timetable forms the basis. So far, if you have not been very serious about timetable, if you haven't done a timetable, just today evening go and make it. If you have a timetable, if it is really bad, you haven't done any justice, start fresh, accommodate the things you have already done. If your timetable is repairable, repair it. If you are on a good timetable, follow it. Okay. Now timetable, again you can go back and look at the Excel which we have previously shared, where we split it into 60 and 40. Now if you are making a fresh timetable, you might want to make it 60% and 30%. That means 30% of your time goes to revision. Now some of you have already started revision. It is good, but let us say August, September, October is totally revision, November is totally revision, December, if the exam is in January, December is totally revision, right? October, November, December is totally revision. Those who have started early, September can also be revision, right? So you are looking at revision. Now let me come to the second point. So here in the timetable, go and look at the Excel if you don't already have, okay? Now second, let me come to the revision plan. Now what are you preparing for? Let me ask you a very important question. What are you doing right now? Are you preparing for the NEET exam or are you preparing for the revision? So the answer is that you are preparing for the revision now. Okay. Can you just drill this down into your head? You're not preparing for your exam. You cannot write exam like this. Do you remember half of the things which you studied in the month of April? No, right? I mean, so hard. See, without revision, you are zero. Okay. So now your goal is actually the first stop. Your first stop in the preparation journey is revision. Okay, not your exam. So you're not going to the exam day, you're going to the revision, start of the revision day. So whatever you are doing today is actually a preparation for that revision. So that means whatever you are doing today should enable you to do an exceptionally good revision. Got it? So whatever you're doing today will not enable you to do an exceptionally well in the exam. but it should enable you to do an exceptionally good revision. So that is why when we come to the third point, which is the note making thing, right? So when I wrote the exam, notes were not so important, but I remember I used to make notes. Now notes, what you write, forms the central point of your revision. Okay, so that's why all of your effort needs a central coding. So what is your framework? Your framework is timetable. So timetable defines your life, right? And we all need timetable. We all need Saturdays and Sundays and times and all. So timetable defines your life, and your base which you work on it, the essence of what you actually do is currently notes. Okay, now where is this note coming from? That's where now in most cases, even now, note is what you write, right? Note is not something you Xerox or photocopy. That's the last desperate measure. Now I'll quickly run through this. You have your primary source. In many of currently this is a lot of pro users here, mostly pro users here. In this case, your preparatory source, a lot of people have the video classes, right? Now I understand the video is very elaborate. I mean, it is supposed to be, right? So otherwise we could just have a few test and discussion or a few QBank sources, right? So the very purpose of video is actually in-depth learning with the conceptual understanding. Now the tricky thing is that, can you watch all the videos? Please do not worry about the number of videos you watch, what you want. It's basically like it's like a buffet, right? You can go and pick what you want. Have some kind of understanding what you actually need. Now, do you really need to watch surgery videos? Just because Rohan sir is good, just don't go and watch it, right? I mean, if you really need, you feel this is a weak subject, go and watch it. Now, I assume you have taken already test series and questions and QBank to understand what is weak with you, right? You have no clue about anesthesia. Spend 2 days watching anesthesia and get it done, right? So video, do not take it from a perspective that I complete this thing and then I will achieve something. No, in fact, it's the other way around. If you complete all the video, paradoxically, it might just say that you have spent less time in actually doing or solving the MCQs, right? So video is your primary add-on source. If you are attending a coaching class, well and good, go and attend, go with the flow. Now the most controversial thing is the primary add-on, which is a subject-wise book. Now let me tell you, do you ever felt there is a dearth of information? So there is something called FOMO. I am pretty sure all of you, most of you will have this thing, which is the fear of missing out. Okay, so please be aware of this thing. There are a lot of sources, there are tons of sources to prepare, and I would say a lot of them are actually good. Okay, so I would say there are really good books, there are really good classes, and there are tons of WhatsApp groups, Facebook groups, there are WhatsApp forwards, but the reality is that you don't have the time, right? So what is this exam? It is a time versus how much you can answer correctly game. Okay, it's that ultimately you have 19 subjects, so nobody in the whole world will ever expect you to do anything comprehensively or properly. It's basically how much of a strategy you can actually do and answer it. Now you can go, let us take two extremes. So one extreme is that you know very little but really well, doesn't work, right? I mean, you might not be able to answer it. Second extreme is that you know too much but you're not able to recollect and reproduce it. So that's the other extreme. You need to find the fine point, and most importantly, when you do so, your biggest advantage, at least for Marrow usage, I want to tell you, is to say no to things, right? Buying books, watching videos, solving more, solving this, that and all. Only exceptions are doing more grand tests is always better, right? That's the only thing I would say, doing more is better. Now last year I hope you watched the videos with our Shirali, Madan, Jagrati, everyone, right? Now you ask these guys who really scored, and I'm talking about someone who scored anything between first rank to 1000 rank. See, if you do a randomized control study, the number of books, the number of sources they have used will definitely be lesser than the rest of the population. Isn't it surprising? Doesn't it say something? It says that it's all about having something which is deep enough, doing it many times, planning it for revision, do not worrying about more. You keep adding more, that's where things starts getting problematic. Okay, so what happens is that a lot of students who would have scored something between 1000 to 10,000 really screws up when they actually go very greedy with the fear of missing out and study this, that, and all, and you become so bloated up, right? Now, so practice source, this is where this is why you should not just worry about watching too much videos or going after every source you find. Okay, I mean, they are good, So that becomes to the primary add-on. Really see if you need a primary add-on source. It could be a subject-wise book, but if you need it, go for it. Now, how do you know that you need it? Because I am biased, right? I mean, I would say all of the students, everyone is biased. So you would rather go with the bias of your seniors. So ask your seniors, ask your colleagues. I'm finding very hard in biochemistry which book should I read, or I did not attempt a biochemistry class. What is the book I should read, right? Then get their opinion and move on. But believe me, it doesn't matter, right? I mean, everybody can buy any book, so that's not going to be the game changer. Simple logic, right? Anybody who has 30,000 rupees could get all of the sources which are available. So if that was the case, then things would have been different. Let me come to the next one, which is a test. My guess is that you have. I'll come to the QBank specifically. My question is that are you doing enough tests? So what we're going to do, we'll add some more tests in the grand test. Okay. So and that all will be from the QBank. I'll tell you why. So first is that start taking grand test. Okay. Forget your subject-wise test. Forget your mini test and all. If you have time, take it. But it's not worth it in many cases. What matters is the grand test. It is exceptionally hard to sit for 3.5 hours more and do this with a full concentration. It requires your muscle to be trained, your memory muscles to be trained, right? It requires intense focus and concentration. So do not underestimate it. Okay, do not underestimate it. Think about it. All you are doing right now is all for that January 6th, I don't know, 6th or 9th, 10:30 to that noon, right? It's all about that. So it becomes so important how you perform on that single day. And one of the important parameters on how you perform on single day is that how you actually really do a test. So take a grand test in a laptop. I've seen a lot of people taking Marrow grand test in a mobile phone. We have a phenomenally well structured web version of the QBank and the test series. Please go there. Even QBank, if possible, solve in a laptop. Okay. Now test has to be taken very seriously. Now if your rank, if your score is improving significantly, it's a good sign. But trust me, what happened is that, so your score should keep going like this. Okay. So initially, I don't know if you have seen this. I'm scoring 20%, 30%, and one fine morning you'll score 50%. I remember that time I was taking a test and I scored 50, and that was a moment I felt happy and really felt okay, I can do it. Right? I'm pretty sure many of you have scored 50%. Now the question is that afterwards it will get flat. Okay, so this is where the tough phase, the initial phase, you are pumping air into a volleyball. It's easy initially, right? The 90, the 80 to the 60, 70, 80, 90 is the toughest part. Okay, so you're gonna having a plateau risk, right? You will plateau out. So your fight becomes harder. Okay, it's that last flexion becomes very harder. So anticipate that. Make sure that your score goes up. Okay, now your percentile, basically your rank. Now unfortunately, you might find that your rank is actually flat or going down. Of course, right? Everyone is studying, right? What happens is that the momentum picks up really well for the next few months. So people are going to really write. Your next door friend who is saying, shit man, I'm done. I'm not doing, I'm going to prepare for the next year. He will go and study. She will go and study. So things get into a very competitive mode. So let me warn you, the very unassuming friend of you who are saying, hey, I don't do it, you would find scoring better than you, right? So all your preparation should make sense. One is score wise, second is actually rank wise, which is actually percentile wise. So keep track of that. Now if it is not happening, it is a time to intensify your effort and really put your strategy and see if you are overdoing things. See if you are like studying so much time on one subject. See if you are spreading yourself too thin by studying too many books and WhatsApp forwards and WhatsApp groups and all those things. That's one of the reasons we kind of stay away from a lot of WhatsApp groups and Facebook pages and Facebook groups. There are a lot of them. It's a good icebreaker, but we are not still very convinced that that actually helps. Okay, so that's a test, right? Take all the grand tests and we're going to add more grand tests, which is from the QBank. Now, let me tell you about the practice, which I have marked here, right? The practice thing. So this is where the QBank comes in. I'm pretty sure Marrow QBank, you already heard of it, you have used it, right? So the real deal is that I usually think it like this, right? When we build Marrow QBank, this is the house example which we started building, right? So let us say you're building a house, right? Now you cannot do anything without a base, right? You will not start looking at your interior decoration without having your base ready, right? So like in your exam, anyway you need to score your 40 to 50%, right? You have to score your 40 to 50%, right? Without that, there is no point, right? There is no point in answering a very strange, hard question. And this is where we all fail. The fundamental problem comes in that 40 to 50%. Now this 40 to 50% is not direct repeat. Okay. Now that brings to your question, is marrow Q-bank enough? Where is the source of missing and all the kind of thing, right? Now what happens is that there is nothing called a previous NEET exam. So I don't know if you remember, last year NEET was a single day exam. Almost for before couple of 3-4 exams, they were multi-day exams. Practically 7-day, 2 sessions. You're looking at 14-day exams. And for a 14-day exam, you get a question bank of multiple lakhs, right? The questions come from a huge question bank. You had super weird questions in this. So it is very unrealistic to expect that there is something like a previous NEET exam. But when we analyze these questions, you will get to know what is a NEET pattern. Okay. And of course, last year questions are there, even though we are not allowed to publish it, we get to know what is a NEET pattern. And from this pattern, we could figure out certain overlaps. So it's unrealistic to expect any question bank or anything which would have previous NEET exam, because it will go into multiples of lakhs and it is not representative. But we can actually identify what are the NEET repeats. So what marrow Q-bank does is that, see, there are certain exams which are super easy. Okay. So you have the super easy ones, right? We ignore those. Okay. It's that we assume that you would have studied from all the sources, right? Then you have something which moves you from your 20 to 50%. This is where marrow Q-bank comes in. Okay. This is marrow Q-bank comes in, right? Now you ask, is Q-bank enough? Without context, I can actually say Q-bank is not just enough, right? But I can clearly say and give it in writing, you're not going to crack it without cracking that movement from 20 to 40 to 20 to 50%, right? So what basically Q-bank does is that it helps in that. Now you're not only studying Q-bank, you're watching videos, attending classes, maybe reading books. That covers the rest of the thing. So what my suggestion here is that do not go. I assume most of you guys have subscribed to Q-bank. Do not go to the exam because without running through Q-bank at least once. It is something which is totally worth your time. Right? I rarely make these kind of statements that you have to do it, right? Q-bank is one thing, test series is another thing. Now, even in test series, you don't want to take marrow test series, take any standard good coaching center test series, I would not say. That's also totally cool. Now, Q-bank is, I don't see any other good Q-banks right now. Q-bank is what you actually need to do end to end. Okay, so is Q-bank enough? Q-bank itself is not enough. Because it gives you 20 to 30, but without Q-bank, it is very, very dangerous to go back to the exam, particularly because you have access to the Q-bank. Now, why can't it all be in a book? Now, the thing about Q-bank is that it gives you a real exam experience. Okay, every question you are forced to think and look at the community response, right? I don't know if you're looking at the community response. I hope you guys are looking at the community response, right? I'll go to the revision part of Q-bank, okay? You look at the community response and say, hey, I did it right. My guess was correct. You start working your brain. Why? Because again in the exam, the rest 50% of the questions, you're going to do an educated guess. Anything between, if you're really good, it's different. Anything between 20 to 50% of questions, you're going to do an educated guess, right? So repeated questions are not being asked so much. There are repeats, but ultimately a lot of questions are new. So here you're going to use your brain to answer it, right? So Q-bank brings it in a very active mode. So previously when you actually do, in a very inactive mode like a book, it's not forcing you to think so much, right? Q-bank makes it in a very active mode. And of course, we have structured the MCQs in a very different manner. It's a team of 40 people who actually creates this Q-bank, including all the specialists. So it's a very different, I'm pretty sure you are realized that. So do Q-bank. Now, while doing Q-bank, keep adding points to your notebook. That's the best method. Okay, you might not get time to go through the questions. Bookmark the questions. That's the next best method. Do bookmark the questions which you feel, hey, I have to go and revise it. Okay, but at the same time, have your book open, add those points to the book. That's going to be phenomenally helpful. So bookmarks the question. So there are two advantages of Q-bank. I want to stress it again. Anyway, you all have the Q-bank access, but one consistent thing I see is that video users underutilize the Q-bank. Okay, so go and solve the Q-bank. Lot of questions were asked from the Q-bank. Even if that's not the case, it will prepare you and make you ready to answer the question. And it sticks. The correct answer stickiness is quite high when you actually do it. And at least for me, I do solve questions. It's less boring than books. So I remember what is his name? I forgot his name. He was the last year AIM6. So he stayed in the same college. So I studied in Kottayam in Kerala. So he said when I used to go for lunch, he would take this, and when I wait for lunch, he would solve modules and come back. That's it. I mean, he got AIMS rank 6, and now currently he is in JIPMER. It's such a good use case. I mean, I felt so happy to say it, right? You can solve it any point of time. Don't make it a big deal. You take a module, solve a module. Take a module, solve a module. Keep adding to your notes whenever it's possible. Keep marking. Do not complicate it. Okay. Now, sir, the extra points given in the Q bank to be added in notes. Can I say one thing about notes? Yeah. If you guys are doing it wrong, I want you to correct it right now. So, do you think there is a perfect note? There is nothing called a perfect note. There is no perfect note. Okay. Note is what you need, right? And the very fact that it has to be imperfect. Right? Your note has to be imperfect. Never ever try to add every point in QBank or anywhere else. Note is what you actually make, which will help you in revision. So if you are writing something which is very conceptual, but you feel ultimately you're not gonna read it, don't do it, right? So why are you doing note? Note is for your revision. Okay, so it might be a good idea to actually go and look at the notes in between which you are written and see if it makes sense. Guys, do that. Okay, go and look at it. Do you have to study all the pearls? Yes. It's better. Definitely, I would recommend it. Are all the explanations in the QBank enough to prepare for a decent rank? So Arjun, that's the exact thing I was saying, right? It is essential, but QBank you can solve it in a month or two, right? I mean, then it's very easy for everyone, right? So it's a competitive exam. Let me give you a reality. And I remember one question someone asked, why is Marrow questions tough? Oh my God, last year if you don't remember, Marrow had the national mock and we were like bombarded with queries and angry users saying, hey, it's just so tough, what are you guys doing, why are you making us depressed? And the real exam was equally tough, right? So see, you don't need to prepare for an easy exam, right? What you need to worry about is a tough exam. You should not lose motivation, right? So we would rather go a bit in the tougher side and be safe and be happy to have an easy exam. That's a different challenge altogether. But what happens is that if you're not prepared for the tough questions, that's a trend which has been seen. And second thing is that you might get suddenly disappointed, right? You will be in this false heaven that, hey, this I solved Marrow QBank and everything I can answer. I'm so happy, and final exam day you will get a kick. We don't want that, right? Cool. Now I will go back, right? So I'll go back. So you learned about the QBank, and guys go and do test series. Okay, do test series. Okay. Now in the general items, I want to add one thing is that I don't know what you guys actually feel about this entire. So I had my entire preparation logic. So I had my. So we all have WhatsApp groups, right? So I'm pretty sure your batch WhatsApp groups are gonna evolve a lot later. Oh shit, what am I doing? So your batch WhatsApp groups are gonna evolve, right? So my batch WhatsApp group has evolved. Now, when I look back into my WhatsApp group, I was like looking at the struggles we had during this, exam days, right? The struggles we see, everyone had their own challenges during the it's a shitty time. I mean, I'll be completely honest with you. It's really tough time. It's monotonous, it's boring, and you have no end at sight, too risky. And we all went through this. I mean, as a batch of 100 students, we all went through it. Now when you look at it, it's actually one of the challenges you would face, right? I mean, it's a one opportunity. It could be opportunity as well, right? It's a really good opportunity to score a good rank and get into a good PG. So it's one of the challenges / opportunity, and you will have many more coming up, which is a good thing. So you can make corrections later also. Okay, so this is one of the most important, but I wouldn't say this is the only thing. And some people took 1 year, some people took immediately, some people took 3 years. Fast forward now, everyone is actually enjoying what they are doing, and it's all a past thing, right? So my point is that this will pass. This will pass in some time. You need to control your nerve. It is just about 6 months now or 5 months now, which is the ideal time to do things correct. And it's not a big deal in your entire life. When you're talking about 6 months, it's not a big thing. And in the center of it is all you, right? So it all comes back to you, which is the variable here. So if you think about modifiable and non-modifiable, you are the variable which you can actually change, right? The books, everyone has the books. A lot of people have Marrow, coaching, right? It's all there. I mean, ultimately it comes to you and what motivates you. So I used to have a folder which I would actually write down. I made it a habit to look at every day that why I have to do it. So I wanted medicine. and I wanted to do in this scenario, and I had 3 reasons actually. Two of them were personal, and I think it was more professional reason. I had written it down, I had drawn the picture for that. So every morning I would look at it and do it. So you need to stay on top of the game, and the big picture is good. And I tell my colleagues here, a lot of engineers work with us, a lot of designers work with us. We have video team, we have support, sales. So it's just that it's a big world, right? I mean, I don't know if you have seen our pluripotent campaign, which we have ran. So for the Doctors Day, we actually wanted to tell you this point, right? This is one point you want to say. This is not your life, right? This is a game you are going to play for your life. See, this 6 months is not going to define who you are. You are not a guy who or a girl who sits in your class and studies for like 6 months without anything. But you understand this is a game. This is a strategy you're going to take where you're going to dedicate your time to study, or maybe work and study, whatever the case be, and leave a lot of fun and pleasure because you want it and you want to achieve something. So take it in a very positive approach, and it's all worth it. That's my point here. Especially when I look back and see how I evolved or how our colleagues evolved. Now, let me just quickly touch a few questions. So one more thing, there will be a lot of negativity. I mean, it will be exceptional level of negativity, but please, it doesn't matter, right? So negative things, you look at a review of a restaurant, are you going to see positive reviews or negative reviews, right? You look at anything, negative things are easy to spread. People have this fear, and so far the negativity is easy. So I'm sure you will face the same thing in your personal or colleague or group as well as in the online space, right? So obviously our life is very defined by our online communities. So negativity would be the first thing you will see, but that's actually not the reality. Okay, the reality is always being hidden by this wave of negativity. So the people will say you are fucked up, you screwed up as a doctor. You have you have so many challenges if you do the exam is tough, the PG life is tough. That's always a minority of people. So please be aware of that fact and try to stay away from negativity actively. That's a difference, right? You cannot tell your mind that it's all fake, right? So you have to really stay away from the negativity, because once you get into the trap, the negativity cycle kicks in. So you actually have to make a conscious effort to say, hey, I won't look at this Facebook group. I'm going to exit from this WhatsApp group because of this unnecessary conversation. I'm going to not talk to that friend, even though he or she is a good friend, because he spreads so much negativity, right? So be strategic about it and move out from the negativity. Okay. So let me just take some quick questions, and if I can actually answer those. Let me start from this thing. I'll be a bit selective. Okay. Third professionals, I'm not gonna answer it right now. There is no way to solve doubts on Marrow. Please introduce a way. Now I agree to that. See, I don't know how we will handle the scale. It's just that for the sake of complete transparency, let us say Marrow has 25,000 students. If we all put our effort in clearing your doubts, it is not scalable, right? We would rather put our effort on making really good MCQs, which will not result in any doubt. First thing. Second thing, a lot of this doubt takes up a lot of time at your end and our end, and we never found any good outcome for that. At the same time, you have a specific error report or a feedback on an MCQ, you can report it there. You will definitely get an email from teachers@marrow.com. Some users might not have got a reply over the last 1 month because there was some email issue, it was going to spam. So you can check your spam, but now onwards maybe there will be a 24-hour delay, but you will get it. But let me assure you, the doubts, you can try to get your books to be fixed on it, but it's very unrealistic to expect all the doubts you have to be cleared. And trust me, there is no reason to clear all your doubts. If you are stuck at something, please move on, because I don't know how you can even answer a route and say radiology, because you will going to learn only for 1 or 2 days. More images and study images. So images we are including in the question bank. So one thing I would ask from all of you is a trust, right? So we actually have to remove certain questions. So even the 28,000 questions, which includes the test questions as well, we created it from a pool of around 35,000 questions. So we have taken a decision to not include 10,000 questions, right? So we will be continuously taking these decisions from our side, where not to have certain things which never had a good outcome. Because why? Your time is limited. Okay. Images, we gonna have image based test, so that will take care of it. Because when you study, the images are important, but when you solve QBank MCQ, the text based questions are more important because the outcome is more. But nearing the exams, we will have patho based images, slides and all, depending on the exam pattern. For example, last year we did not have any ECG, so we will have a lesser focus on ECG. So do not worry about the image based questions, we will have enough of them coming as a form of test. Short subject, yeah, I think QBank will be good enough. I don't think you need anything else. Now one important thing, you have to write all the AIMS and DMB exams. Okay, so there is no reason for you not to write those exams. You have a fair chance of getting it, but it's the exceptionally best time to really understand how it feels like an exam. So small things like going to an exam, finding a place to stay, finding the vehicle to go, keeping your books outside, it's so important. So I sincerely request all of you to write the upcoming exams. So I'm not very particular about JIPMER and PGI because the style is different, but AIMS definitely you have to write. And Marrow, our focus is primarily NEET PG and AIMS. That itself is so huge, so that's why we don't add anything from PGI and JIPMER. The moment we add more content, it's actually not written. The kind of questions you need for JIPMER is not asked in the NEET PG exam and so on. So we are exceptionally focused on the NEET PG because that's a realistic exam for most. AIMS we add because there is always some derivative questions from AIMS in the coming exam. So let me tell you one more thing, we'll be putting AIMS recall tests as well before the AIMS. So AIMS and NEET PG is what you need to focus via Marrow. If you're very particular on JIPMER and PGI, you might want to get the specific thing. Another good question, November exams approach, right? So that is tricky because in November you might not have done with your revision. So what you can do in November specifically for AIMS and all, you can stop your preparation and accommodate in your timetable and quickly have a quick 2-week revision for the exam. So before AIMS you can have a 2-week revision for the exam. Also keep 1 week to solve AIMS specific questions. So what do you need for AIMS? November AIMS is this, right? You need a week's time to solve all the AIMS, at least 3-year-old AIMS questions. So accommodate that and have a plan, have a quick 2-week revision, which anyway will be helpful for your main exam, right? 2-week not revision before AIMS. Now, if your preparation is really good, you have started much earlier in the cycle, you can expand it this 2 weeks to 3 weeks and the previous AIMS questions to 1 week to 2 week. Books, I don't think there is a reason to read any of the books. It's unrealistic to have any books. Okay, now a lot of these questions are straightforward. Let me just answer a few Marrow specific questions. How to use Marrow content for revision? Do not use video for revision, right? So we will have a revision plan that is primarily for those who haven't started anything. So do not use video for revision. So if you have watched a video, there is no reason to rewatch it because it takes so much time to really listen. It's like you will not go to a coaching class for revision, right? So revision is done from your book. Is it enough to practice Marrow question along with the class note which I actually said? I keep forgetting what I studied. Now this is a real concern and it varies. Most people actually forget, that's what I know. So you can actually overcome this by multiple revisions. I want to give you a number for this multiple revision. So there are students who revise 100 times certain things. Okay, so don't be ashamed to revise something 100 times. You get what I'm saying? So it's like I read something today, I will forget maybe next week. Again I'll have to read. Then you will start thinking, is it something wrong with me? So I have seen students, I myself have done 100 revisions for certain, I think Rickle cell disease or something like that. It's okay. I mean, it's not like 100 minutes or it's like a 30-second revision. So it is totally okay to do multiple revisions. Do not be concerned about it or ashamed about it. Okay. I hope I have answered a number of questions. Now I will keep taking a few questions. So this is a question. Okay, I work and I have very little time. Can I get by preparing for the next 5 months? What is the realistic chance that how would I get? What is the primary source? So, so this is the thing, right? I mean, its answer is backdated. I have seen students who are prepared for 3 months and got the exam. I have students who are prepared for 6 months and got the exam. Now you have a realistic chance to get an exam, right? So let us say you start preparing 1 month later then it all goes back to your chances as well. Like you have to really have the luck with you to get the exam. Now you can still have a realistic chance if you put an exceptionally good effort. Now working is okay. So the problem is that some people have to work. So what I've seen is that it's a two-way thing. When you work, you have to put extra effort into studying, right? So that's a simple logic. So you have to max out of the number of hours you can actually get. So work usually spans, and then rest of the time goes to study. There is no escape. And okay, so now how can I marrow start studying as I'm lagging behind and can't study? I didn't start studying yet. I'm screwed. Get out of the negativity. I think make a timetable. That's the first thing you can actually start studying. Okay. Okay. Arrange a total visual class, last minute update, one-liners. So we will do one thing. We will not be able to do a computer based test. But what we can actually do, I think the last moment, so fancy things we're going to stay away this year. This is because our experience last year. So last year we had a slide only discussion, we had a ECG only test, but to be completely fair, it did not pan out really well. For example, it did not help in the exam, right? So there are certain things which really helped in the exam. There are certain things which we realized was like it's more of showing off, right? What we can actually do, which is I think unfair to you guys. So we're going to have, again, I ask your trust for this. We're going to have a very solid plan for the last few months when you go for the revision. So the single thing which we realized is basically more grant test. That too, grant test which is two of questions which you have already studied. So we're going to have QBank based grant test more and more so that you keep revising it. Some image based question and grant test will be there. The video discussions based on images, the test and discussion videos, I don't think it is going to be helpful. Is it mandatory to make a separate note of mistakes from grant test in a separate note and revising it? Yes, that's totally okay. So don't be very particular on your note taking, right? So it's like I found a question in medicine randomly. Keep another book to write those points, right? Then don't go and open the medicine and then go to the chapter and try to add it there. So you write it somewhere else. That's all fine. Why? Because you're not here to make a perfect note. In fact, your note should be an imperfect one. That means you can actually have questions like this. How much should I score in a Marrow GT now to get a rank within 1000, sir? I would say 1000 itself. So last year we had a very good collaboration, and this year we expect a lot of students to take Marrow test. I'm pretty sure it will be the largest test. So I would expect the Marrow rank to really match the real rank. Okay. Now, when it goes to the 20,000, 30,000, it might be indifferent. What happens is that all the serious students, practically a lot of serious students would take Marrow, right? So your rank from 0 to 10,000 is going to corroborate really well. After that, there could be enough variability, but I would assume that your Marrow rank sort of corroborates, it's an indication for the real rank you would get with the current level of preparation. Is there any number of questions per subject matrix? Yes, definitely, right? And again, if you haven't got the Excel sheet, you can request to the support team. They'll send you the Excel sheet. We have analyzed last year question paper distribution and allocated the importance. You can actually see it from that. So many videos in surgery is fully changed. Should we rewatch them? No, you should not rewatch them. How to use Marrow for revision, right? So that's a very, very good question. You do not use Marrow for revision. Who does revision for you? You do revision for you. See, Marrow is a tool, right? All of these things are a tool. Do not give unnecessary importance in your life, right? And I think it's more of a dependency behavior. Feels that Marrow could come and save you. Trust me, anybody has 20,000 rupees can buy Marrow. Okay, so it's not going to save you, right? Just like there are a lot of top rankers from Marrow and other coaching, but that's not going to save you. So who does revision? Revision is done by you. Now, what is your primary point of your revision? It's your notes. Now, have you made really good notes from sources like Marrow? Then it helps. Now, can you use Marrow for revision? Tough. Now, only exception is that, let's say you are really lagging in study, you can quickly go through the QBank because it's very constrained and you have a limited number of questions. The second thing is that if you have done bookmarks properly, that would be a good way to make it into game mode and answer it and solve it. Can I get a PG seat if I prepare hard for this 6 months? Lakshman Deepu has asked. My answer is yes. You can get a PG seat if you prepared hard for this 6 months. I can give you in writing. If you, there is no 6 months, okay, it's only 5 months, and that too, in if you have 5 months, you're going to study at least 2 months for revision, right? But if you do it properly, I will give you in writing, you will get a seat. Now why should I give you in writing? Because I have analyzed all the data, we have seen students actually doing it. Okay, I hope I answered a lot of questions in 1 hour. Thank you guys. You relax. Don't worry too much. It is just one challenge you have, and be smart about it, right? Do not be like, oh my god, I have to do it, I'm so depressed. I mean, why would you begin with that? I mean, that's a step for a failure, right? Think about it, right? If you're going to start with a negative approach, it's more likely to fail. I mean, so if you're spending, why would you start with a positive approach? And you have enough reasons for a positive approach, right? So it's a long cycle, you have many things, many challenges. So this is one critical thing, and it doesn't matter a lot, because one way or another you will be able to get a PG seat. So why not at this time itself, right? And once you get a seat, now we keep getting messages from students who have joined first year PG. A lot of them say it's very tough, it is very hard, and very rarely some people I have seen going on Facebook and posting, hey, I have taken pediatrics, I feel really tough. See, that's the exceptional minority. The majority, when I say majority, I'm saying 99% of them are actually happy. Like they found something which is interesting, they finally get to be a real doctor taking care of patients, and you can improve yourself in a sense, like previously you had to go and study everything, right? So if you're a pediatrician, you can actually go and look at the one particular thing, then go back and treat the patient, see the outcome, be happy about it. So there are a lot of good things which is in store for you. So PG life is going to be a bit tough for many students, but ultimately it brings so much joy and so much fun, and I feel that's all what you have been preparing for, right? So I'm pretty sure none of you took up MBBS to become a MBBS doctor, right? Most of you want to study more. There's nothing wrong in being a primary care doctor, but so that's a very good phase to be in, and then you can actually build your career as well, right? I mean, you look at, hey, this is what I want to do, this is a fellowship I want to do. See, DM and MCH fellowships are super easy these days, we have enough seats, it's a single national exam. So you are actually taking a one critical toll booth to go into a number of good things which you can achieve. So my point is that start properly, it's good. I mean, just get out of the negativity. VSD, what is your question? Please put up your question. I'll answer the question. I cannot answer, so many questions are there. Go and do it, man. That's it. Okay, so I would request people to drop off. Go and study. But let me see. Yeah, if we are writing an exam and if you have to tick one answer, how to approach this? So VSD, the thing is, there is no approach, right? I mean, if it has been approach, why people haven't shared it, right? And you say this is abstract approach. So you have a negative marking in the exam. Even then, it is most people answer maximum number of questions. Anything between 280 to 300 is the number of questions you have to answer. But you have to understand that there is a negative marking for every wrong question. That means picking an answer is very important, right? That goes back to my point. It is up to you to understand what is your strategy. How do you understand? You get enough learning experience by solving QBank or test. Okay. So how to answer? Definitely before that we will do it. Yes, live session 80% of notes from Mara video. When I was stating note, I feel like first reading, taking notes, long-term study. Yeah, so that's all landscape will come. It is tough. How to study medicine? Okay, let me answer this question, which is basically when you write note and when you go back to the note, you are like, oh my god, did I write this? I don't remember anything, or I have written so much, or I have written something which are not important, right? So that is why it's okay. It's okay, it's challenging. That's why you actually have to go and look at your notes even before revision. Okay, so what I used to do is that every day midnight I would read my notes for half an hour. So that was a simple dictum I used, that I would just pull out any random note, 30 minutes I would run through it, and there was no plan for it. It really helped me to make better notes, right? So when you look back your notes, you don't want to look at your notes after 6 months, right? You might want to look at your notes immediately. So do not wait for the revision to have the revision. You have a fake revision, pseudo revisions. You have in between revisions in between. It will help you to improve that thing. How to study medicine? See, medicine you don't need to study if you know the basic final year. Otherwise, it's all the same. No, nothing specific for each subject. Right? Like anatomy you want to look at an atlas, pathology you would want to look at the slides, but other than that it's all implied. I do not have my own notes. I study from guidebooks. Am I at a great loss? Srijan, I think it's a risky strategy, but now onwards you might want to really start writing notes. If you haven't written any note, yes, it is a risky strategy. It is a risky strategy. Yet to meet any really good rankers who haven't made notes. So, can someone get a decent rank by studying only Marrow Q Bank? Decent is very relative. Only Marrow Q Bank, I don't think so. But it's very relative, right? What I can say, last year if you had studied only Marrow Q Bank, you would have got a rank within 500. Last year if you have studied only Marrow Q Bank, you would have got a rank within 500 if you answered all the questions, because so many questions came from Marrow Q Bank. Now I do not want to bias you by telling that this year it's going to happen, right? I'm pretty certain that 30 to 40% will be covered, which is so important. The rest of that, do not leave it a chance that I will only study. So usually I would say, do not miss Q Bank. There is no way you can miss Q Bank because all of you have access. Then use other sources, cover up for the rest, and use Marrow Q Bank's solving capacity to improve your answering skills. Guys, feel free to drop off. Okay. So I keep getting this question, right? I mean, is it sufficient? It is. How do I say it is sufficient, right? I mean, no one can say anything is sufficient. If someone is saying that, it might be wrong. I mean, I don't know how can anybody say something is sufficient. Now, we can only take a fair chance. Now, I can give you a fair assurance that Q Bank is exceptionally important. Grant tests are exceptionally important. If you do that, you are in a really good place. And if you have something else from the rest of the places, you definitely have an exceptional chance of a good rank, as long as you can replicate all these things in the real exam. I will have, definitely we will have new sessions for how to take a revision. This session is basically what to do at the 5-month thing. Okay. Taking notes is taking time. That means you are writing too much. There is no other alternative. I have just one question. Praveen, taking notes from Q Bank is taking a lot of time. Is it worth it? How much time should I invest in Q Bank, like for 50 questions? Okay, I'll answer this. It is very relative. If you started solving much early in the cycle, you can actually take a lot of time. Now, do not be trying to write everything in the Q Bank into your notebook. Then it's not a note, right? So you fix a time according to your timetable, and whatever you feel you can write it. At least study the question. If possible, study the explanation. At least try to understand from the explanation. Now, certain things you can choose not to write. You literally say, I'm not going to write this question, and then move on. Okay. I am a professor. God. Thank you. Taking notes very long time. There is no alternative. Okay, it's all the same question, right? I mean, basically, oh, I should have told you in the beginning. I forgot actually. It's a very important thing, right? I solved in one thing. You have to embrace the uncertainty, right? So you're gonna have a very uncertain period. So I usually say embrace the uncertainty. The way you studied your theory exam is totally different. You have something very defined. You study that, you go, and it's guaranteed as long as you do that, you will get it, right? Now, suddenly you are in a flip side where there is no rule, right? There is no guideline, there is no single rule. We only have certain pointers that everyone does revision, everyone does this, everyone does this, it has given outcome. The rest of it is all confusing. And there are so many sources, so many apps, so many online, offline things, books, forwards, right? So you're living in a world of uncertainty, and it's better to realize that than actually just float in that uncertainty. Now, when you realize it, then it becomes that it is your responsibility to bring certainty to that situation. How do you bring certainty? The first is your framework, which is the timetable. The second is basically making your note, which forms the base. So you keep certainty more, follow the basic rules, measure yourself you are doing well. How do you measure? By taking grand test, and do it. Keep focused, stay out of negativity, and think it is a strategy game. It is not an exam, it is nothing, it is a strategy game. And you play strategically until your revision, so that you can do a good revision, and from the revision until your exam, so that you can get a good score. I think I will wind up now. Do not worry, guys, this is a good time. Do not worry, you have enough time. Okay, my concluding thought, you have enough time. So do not worry. you go and enjoy, do some exercise. Aerobic exercise always helps. Do some exercise, have some it's okay, it's just a phase. You will come out well. You have the exact amount of time to do things right, so please go ahead and do it. Have a good day. I know I haven't answered a lot of questions. I will try to answer it, but I hope you understand. Okay, all right, thank you. I'll have more sessions for Preparely users later. All right, thank you, bye bye.